to those areas. I'll turn over now to Lobsang.
Thanks, David, for the kind introduction, and Atlantic Council for hosting this event. And I would like to acknowledge Kedor for introducing AFI, and good to follow after, Sophie Richardson. She broadly explained Xi Jinping's take on religion in general and Buddhism in particular. And also glad to see my friend Robert Destro, all of my friends. But I particularly, mention Robert Destro because having been the first person to meet him right after his appointment as the special coordinator on Tibetan issues at the State Department, now I could see he has fully, I don't want to use the word converted, but fully come to our side with by hoisting a Tibetan flag, as a backdrop on his take on today's topic. So I think, both Robert Destro and Sophie Richardson spoke broadly about Xi Jinping and Chinese government policies on religious freedom in general and Tibet in particular. But let me be more specific and try to highlight that the religious freedom and human rights violation in general are ongoing, and the sufferings of Tibetans are ongoing, and the resistance of Tibetans are also ongoing as we speak. Just this year, in February, a very popular singer, just 25 years old singer called Sawanobu, self-immolated or burned himself, asking for basic freedom of the Tibetan people. And an 81-year-old Tabu from Amdo Kirti, he also, again, self-immolated himself. So the resistance, even though self-immolation is a very painful process, who would put gasoline over your body and burn yourself as a form of protest? As a human being, it's unbearable. But what they are saying is the repression of Tibetans in Tibet is so extreme that it's so painful that they are willing to give up their lives for the sake of Tibetan people. And then, in the last now, 10 plus years, almost 160 Tibetans have self-immolated, committed self-immolation, and most of them are monks and nuns. That speaks for, again, the denial of basic religious freedom in Tibet. Now, in the context of Sinicization of Buddhism, which Xi Jinping's and Chinese government policy, which was again elaborated both by Robert Destro and Sophie Richardson and Kedor as well, at a ground level, let me give you an example. Just this year, a few months ago, 99 feet high statue of Buddha was demolished at a village. 30 feet Maitreya Buddha is the future Buddha, was demolished again. 3-story high statue of Guru Padmasambhava again was demolished. 45 prayer wheels, which we have in all the monasteries when you circumambulate or go around clockwise around monastery, which are used basic prayer wheels. These are physically destroyed, and most of them at a place called Tango. So the Sinicization of Buddhism at a policy level says something. Of course, there's a sinister design, but at a grassroots level, this kind of physical destruction of statue of Buddha, and even prayer wheels, it speaks for how extreme and how the repressive the policies of the Chinese government are, and to the extent that Tibetans are committing self-immolation and burning themselves. Now, other aspect of control that the Chinese government is trying to do begin, which Sophie and others also mentioned, about the reincarnation process. Now, Chinese government wants to control over the reincarnation process, and they have already put a policy in place. In 2007, they issued a document number 5, and which essentially said, if anyone wants to claim to be a reincarnated Lama, you have to register at the local party office Or if you are a higher Lama, you can register at the state level or regional level. And if you are one of the highest one, you will be accorded a certification by the national level. So first of all, it's an ironic that a communist party decides who this spiritual, higher being or a spiritual leader is. And in 2007, when it started, they started with around 300 or so reincarnated Lama. But interestingly, in 2017, the registration, April of 2017, registration was of 600 high lamas, reincarnated lamas. But in August of 2017, within 4 months' time, it jumped to 1,300 reincarnated lamas, meaning certificate issued by the Communist Party, okay? There, even a very senior Tibetan scholar wrote a letter to the Communist Party in accusing a particular official by saying, how much money did you get by issuing the certificates? So to jump from 600 to 1,300 in 4 months' time, obviously we are talking inflationary economy in America now or around the world. There was certainly inflation of reincarnation, in Tibetan areas. So the bribery was also used. So I mean, it's understandable because when an atheist party like Communist Party of China, which really doesn't believe in religion, which goes on to destroy and demolish even a statue of Buddha and Guru Padmasambhava and future Buddha like that, why would they have any credibility or legitimacy when it comes to recognizing reincarnated lamas? And they're doing so. Now, interestingly, in the 1,300 reincarnated lamas the Chinese government has recognized, one person who's missing is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. But what they claim is that they have right to recognize or anoint the future Dalai Lamas. The one person who's missing, who's not recognized, is the 14th Dalai Lama, but they claim to have right to recognize the future Dalai Lamas. So there lies the irony. So, with this, I just want to end by saying the synthesization of Buddhism or religious freedom in China, policy-wise is real, but at a grassroots level, I think it's felt very painfully by Tibetans in a daily basis. Hence, we all can do a lot, and the U.S. government can do a lot. Atlantic Council can do a lot. Even by issuing research paper, having convening this kind of event. And U.S. government by passing a resolution, making a statement goes a long way. Some might say, well, does it make any difference? It does make all the difference, because at the end of the day, I do believe that the Chinese leaders, and I've heard this before, first thing they watch is not CCTV, they watch CNN, and first newspaper that they read is not Xinhua News Agency, but Washington Post and New York Times. So what America, in particular Washington, D.C., does it does send a strong message to the Chinese government and Chinese leadership. So hence, Atlantic Council hosting this event means a lot. So Atlantic Council is sending, especially the China hub within the Atlantic Council, sending a clear message to Beijing that religious freedom is a serious matter, and we all will take it seriously for the sake of Tibetans and Uyghur brothers and sisters and Mongolians and Hong Kongers and all of them. So with that, I end my short note here. Thanks.
Thank you, Lobsang. That was an excellent framing of the situation, particularly with what's happening in Tibet. We'll move to questions now, and I think maybe I'll just pick up where you left off, Lobsang. You talked a fair amount about, of course, the reincarnation process and Beijing's approach, and we've touched a little bit thus far. And Bob, made the point that we ought to be thinking about how the Chinese Communist Party leadership is thinking about these things and what's their perspective. So I guess I'd ask you, if there's anything else you wanted to say in terms of why Beijing is going to so much trouble. How do they view the Dalai Lama's eventual reincarnation and the announcement of a successor? And what preparations do you think the Chinese government is making now beyond document number 5 and the registrations you mentioned to control that process? And And then lastly, what sorts of scenarios do you expect to see if, as expected, Beijing picks an illegitimate successor in China loyal to the party? And what else can be done in addition to what you just laid out to try to shape that outcome now?
On the one hand, it's kind of, it's laughable that a Communist Party, an atheist party, wants to have a say in the spiritual process, and when they actually say the religion is poison, but they want to have control over religion. On the other hand, whatever they do, we have to take it very seriously, because they have a plan all the time. For example, Tibet was an independent country, okay? It was occupied. We all believe that. But there are many people in the world over 60 years believe Tibet was always part of China through believing or subscribing to the Chinese government propaganda. So we must take this reincarnation also very seriously. Obviously, they have a plan. I'm sure they have formed a committee. They have 1,000-page documents, and they have put people in place, and they have they're already spreading the wings as far as propaganda is concerned. Let me give you an example. In 2018, I think it was just a week before his solemn birthday, I met one Indian journalist who was invited to go to Tibet along with 9 other journalists. After 1 week, they all came back and wrote articles and have same headlines. Chinese government will select the next Dalai Lama, and Indian government or India should not interfere. If they do, you will pay a price. Now, when they invite 9 journalists from India, go to Tibet for a week and come back with the same headlines, means their propaganda machinery is so effective that they actually are sending a message to India. Thereby now, India is one of the largest, populated country in Asia. It's clearly, what we call of equal stature and rival to China. When China dares send that kind of message to India, can you imagine what kind of message they're able to send to the rest of the world, all the small countries? And I'm sure they're able to convince, not by choice, but by force, to subscribe to or buy their narrative as far as reincarnation is concerned. Here, Robert Destro also has an opinion where Vatican has also has kind of secret agreement, and which is up for renewal soon, where they have agreed on the selection of bishop with the Communist Party of China. Essentially, Communist Party of China will select a bishop, and Vatican agree with it, and that bishop will go on teaching or preaching, Christian scriptures to Catholic followers in China. I mean, when they're able to convince Vatican to come to that kind of agreement, this is a serious matter, So we all should talk about it. We all should write about it, and government should speak about it, pass resolutions, statements, and make laws about it, so that that the Chinese government, will be diluted in their efforts when it comes to reincarnation.
Yeah, I would invite anyone else on our panel who wants to chime in, not just on the initial question around the reincarnation process, but the broader points that